So hi everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Andrew Mathu, and I'm joined by my colleague Gustavo Modena. We are both product managers at Microsoft in the Azure Network Security Customer Experience Engineering team. And today we're excited to walk you through best practices and strategies for mastering the Azure Web Application Firewall rule sets. So moving on, here's what we'll cover today. We'll begin with an overview of the Azure Web Application Firewall. Then we'll explore the fundamentals of the WAF rule sets, the difference between managed and custom rules, and then dive into key concepts such as anomaly scoring and paranoia levels, which are essential for fine-tuning your WAF configuration. Next, we'll move into best practices for rule set management. Here we'll cover some general and specific best practices and recommendations for working with these rules. And then after that, we'll walk through a live demo to show these concepts in action. And finally, if we have time, I'll wrap up with a Q&A session, question and answer session, where we'll address some of the highlighted questions. But meanwhile, during the presentation, please feel free to post your questions in the Q&A window. So to start us off, we'll begin with an overview of Azure WAF. And before we dive into the Azure WAF overview, it's important for us to understand the types of web application attacks. Understanding these attacks is crucial because it helps us appreciate the importance of having a robust security measures in place. Of course, by knowing what you're up against, we can better understand how WAF works and why it's an essential component of our security strategy. So the first type of web application attack is DDoS attacks, and DDoS stands for distributed denial of service, and these attacks aim to overwhelm web applications. So by configuring Azure DDoS protection coupled with Azure WAF, we're able to provide a robust defense system, filtering out malicious traffic and also ensuring service continuity. Examples of DDoS attacks are the TCP flood attacks and HTTP flood attacks. The second type of the web application attack, these are the web application attacks, and these are sophisticated attacks targeting specific application vulnerabilities such as SQL injections, cross-site scriptings, and remote file inclusions. The third type of attack, this is malicious bots. And malicious bots are automated programs that scrape data, probe for vulnerabilities, and perform credential stuffing. So they can cause financial loss, competitive disadvantages, even legal challenges, as well as some of these bots, they can deliver malware. So you can see here some examples of malicious bots. We have denial of service bots. These perform denial of service attacks. We have content scrapers. These are bots that scrape content for websites to use it elsewhere. And then we also have price scrapers, bots that scrape pricing information from competitor websites. Now that we've looked at the most common types of web application attacks, let's go through a high-level overview of the Azure Web Application Firewall, or WAF in short. So Azure WAF, this is a cloud-native platform managed service that protects your web applications from common threats and vulnerabilities. Being a platform managed service, it means Microsoft handles the infrastructure, updates, and scaling, making it easy to deploy and configure. I don't need to worry about the patching or maintaining the underlying systems. It's also highly available, scalable, and performant. So whether you're protecting a small app or a global enterprise platform, WAF can scale to meet demand while maintaining low latency and high reliability. WAF protects web applications hosted in Azure or elsewhere, on premises or in other clouds, making it a flexible solution for hybrid and multi-cloud environments. WAF is backed by Microsoft's threat intelligence, enabling it to respond quickly to emerging attacks and zero-day vulnerabilities. It also meets enterprise-grade compliance standards, which is critical for regulated industries like finance, healthcare, and government. So Azure WAF is deployed or is integrated at two levels, at the global level with Azure Front Door and at the regional level with Application Gateway. Azure Front Door is a native modern cloud CDN, content delivery network that provides global application acceleration and intelligence security at scale. So Azure WAF in Front Door stops web attacks at the network edge closer to the source of the attack, as Front Door is a global resource that has hundreds of edge locations around the world. As a regional WAF, Azure WAF integrates with the application gateway. The app gateway, this is a highly scalable web application or regional load balancer running in a virtual network. Azure WAF comes with a comprehensive set of features designed to provide robust, flexible, and intelligent protection for our web applications. So first, it includes pre-configured rules that offer out-of-the-box protection against the OWASP top 10 vulnerabilities and web attacks. Next, we have bot protection, which is integrated with Microsoft's Global Threat Intelligence Suite. So this allows WAF to identify and respond to non-malicious bots in real time, helping you protect against malicious bots that we saw previously. Azure WAF also supports conditional rate limiting at the network edge through the Azure Front Door. So rate limiting helps you throttle excessive requests from specific IPs or regions, which is especially useful for mitigating DDoS attacks. Within the WAF, we also have the custom rules engine, which is also another powerful feature. So the custom rules allow you to define your own logic based on various parameters, HTTP parameters, headers, cookies, or query strings. And this gives you a fine-grained control over how traffic is evaluated and filtered. Within these custom rules, you can configure geofiltering, and this allows you to block or allow traffic based on geographic location. This is useful for compliance or also to reduce exposure to high-risk regions. You can also configure IP restrictions and HTTP parameter filtering to further enhance your ability to control access and detect suspicious patterns in request payloads. I also have size restrictions within the custom rules, and this helps you prevent abuse through large payloads, which can be used in certain types of injection or denial of service attacks. Finally, another key feature is when it comes to monitoring. So Azure WAF provides logs and metrics that can be used to detect anomalies, investigate incidents, and also fine-tune your rules. And then also WAF integrates seamlessly with SIEMs and most of Microsoft Sentinel, our Microsoft SIEM solution. And this will allow you, of course, to respond and to remediate threats quickly. And you can also integrate automated playbooks and advanced analytics for threat detection. So having covered an overview of WAF in the previous section, in this section, we'll take a closer look at the actual WAF rule sets. So the WAF rule set in Azure Web Application Firewall is actually the collection of security rules that are designed to protect your web applications from common threats and vulnerabilities. We have two types of managed rule sets. We have the default rule set, and we also have the bot manager rule set. So the default rule set, this is the core of the managed rule sets. This rule set includes rules that are based on the OWASP core rule set, which helps defend against common web attacks and vulnerabilities. The default rule set is integrated with Microsoft Threat Intelligence. This means these rules are updated to reflect emerging threats, including known CVEs. CVEs are common vulnerabilities and exposures. And of course, this ensures your applications are protected against the latest attack vectors. The DRS rule set uses anomaly scoring, and we'll see this in a bit more in detail, which basically allows more intelligent threat detection instead of blocking traffic just based on a single rule match. Just a note on the default rule set, we do know some customers may still be using the older WAF policies, older WAF rule set, specifically the core rule set, known as CRS. And before the DRS, we had the CRS 3.2, but we also always recommend to upgrade and use the latest rule set, which is the default rule set 2.1, and we'll get to see it more in detail in the next sections. The second managed rule set is the bot manager rule set. You can enable a bot protection using this bot rule set. So this rule set uses Microsoft Threat Intelligence to detect and block malicious bots. It leverages techniques like reverse DNS lookups and user agent analysis to identify harmful automated traffic. It contains three main rule groups: the bad bots rule group to offer protection against bad bots, the good bots rule group to identify good bots, as well as a rule group for unknown bots. And again, we'll take a deeper look into this bot rule set. So together, these managed rule sets, they provide a very good and efficient layer defense strategy that adapts to evolving threats and also minimizing the need for manual rule updates or complex configurations. We also have the WAF, the custom rule set, and here we'll take a closer look at the custom rules. So this, like we saw in the features, the custom rules are designed to give you fine-grained control over how traffic is evaluated and filtered, and it allows you to tailor protection according to application-specific needs. So these rules, they hold a higher priority than the rest of the managed rules. And the custom rules, they'll contain a rule name, a rule priority, and an array of matching conditions, all of which you're able to configure. So within the custom rules, you can create various rules based on match types, such as the ones listed here. You can have the HTTP size string filtering, where you can inspect and filter traffic based on various HTTP components, such as the headers, URIs, the request bodies, cookies, as well as query strings. You can define rules that block or log requests containing the certain patterns or exceeding specific size thresholds. You also have the IP filtering, which will enable you to allow or block traffic from specific IP addresses. So this is a straightforward but effective way to restrict access to trusted sources or block known malicious actors. We also have rate limiting, which is another crucial component of the custom rules. So with rate limiting, you're able to protect your application from layer 7 DDoS attacks by limiting the number of requests a client can make within a defined time window. Finally, we also have geofiltering, and this will allow you to control access based on the geographic origin of the request. So you can configure rules to allow, block, log, or redirect from specific countries or regions. And this is particularly useful, like we saw, if you want to restrict access from regions that are known to send high malicious traffic. So together, these custom rules really give you the flexibility to build a security posture that aligns with your application's behavior, user base, as well as risk profile. And it complements the broader protection offered by the managed rule sets. So moving on, here we'll take a closer look at the latest default rule set, and this is the DRS 2.1. So first of all, this latest version is available in both Azure WAF on Application Gateway and Azure Front Door. So this means there's, regardless of the platform you're using, you can benefit from the most up-to-date security measures through this rule set. It's based on the OWASP core rule set version 3.3.2. And for those who may not be familiar, OWASP CRS, this is a set of generic detection rules for web application. It's like having a comprehensive security checklist that's constantly updated to address new vulnerabilities and threats. In addition to the OWASP rules, the DRS also includes additional proprietary rules from the Microsoft Threat Intelligence Collection Center, MISTIC. So this provides increased coverage, patches for specific vulnerabilities, and better false positive reduction. So the MISTIC rules, these are written in partnership with our Microsoft Threat Intelligence team. And with this, of course, they'll offer that increased security coverage, reduced false positive, and also reduce false positives. And just to note, by default, the DRS versions 2.0 and above, they all use anomaly scoring, which we'll take a look in the next slide. So what is anomaly scoring? So anomaly scoring, so this is a method whereby we are used, that is used within the application gateway, and this is for CRS 3.2 as well as DRS 2.1, and within the front door for DRS 2.0 and above. So the anomaly scoring traffic that matches any rule isn't just immediately blocked, even if your WAF is in prevention mode. So what happens is that instead, the rule sets define a severity for each rule, and those severities have a number. So we have critical, which is 5, we have an error, which is 4, a warning, which is 3, or a notice, which is 2. So this severity, like I mentioned, affects a numeric value for the request, which is called the anomaly score. So if a request accumulates an anomaly score of 5 or greater, the WAF takes an action on the request. So this will allow the WAF to make a more informed decisions and helps reduce the chances of false positives. And in contrast, the traditional detection mode, and this was in the older rule sets, CRS 3.1 and below, and DRS 1.1 and below, this operated in what we called a binary fashion. So each rule is evaluated independently, and if a match is found, the action is triggered immediately. So there's no correlation between the rules, which can lead to more false positives or overly aggressive blocking. So this is why it's also important for you to use the latest WAF rule sets, like we've seen. So again, we always recommend, if you're using the older rule sets, we strongly recommend to upgrading to take advantage of these improvements, and of course have anomaly score. Anomaly scoring as the mode of detection and prevention. Next, we'll take a look at another important concept, and this is the concept of paranoia levels within the rule set. So what is a paranoia level? A paranoia level basically defines how aggressively the WAF inspects and blocks traffic based on the rule severity. So each rule in the OWASP core rule set and the default rule set is assigned a paranoia level, ranging from paranoia level 1 to paranoia level 4, or what we call PL1 to PL4. So the higher the level, the more aggressive the rule is in detecting potential threats, but also the higher likelihood of false positives. PL1, paranoia level 1 rule, includes foundational rules that are generally considered safe for most applications. So these rules, they're designed to catch common attacks, and they have minimal risk of blocking legitimate traffic. PL2 rules, or paranoia level 2, adds more strict checks that may catch edge case threats, but can also increase false positives. PL3 and PL4 are even more aggressive and are typically, we use them in high sensitive environments where security will take precedence over usability. And just to note, currently PL3 and PL4 currently not supported within Azure WAF. So by default, DRS 2.1 and core Ruleset 3.2 are configured to include both PL1 and PL2 rules. And this helps to provide a balanced level of protection. However, if you ever experience or are experiencing false positives, you can disable or change the action of PL2 rules and rely on PL1 to reduce noise or false positives while still maintaining a strong security baseline. So just as an example, we can see the table here on our right, and this shows examples of rules across different paranoia levels along with the anomaly score severity. So as an example, we can see here rule 920.120, and this is assigned a critical severity score of 5 and has a paranoia level of 1. You can see this rule is designed to detect multi-part form data bypass attempts, a common technique that is used in file upload attacks. In contrast, we have rule 920.121, and this targets the similar threat, but is designed for paranoia level 2. So, and you can also see it carries a critical severity score of 5, but of course it uses a more aggressive detection pattern. So this means it may catch more sophisticated or hidden attack attempts, but it also has a higher chance of flagging legitimate traffic. So the key takeaway that you can get from here for paranoia levels is that they give you control over how strict your WAF is. You can tune your configuration based on your application sensitivity to false positives and your overall risk tolerance. But for most production environments, starting with PL1 is a safe and effective approach. And then you can incrementally enable PL2 rules as needed based on the observed traffic and testing. And just also to conclude on this section, this table, this information is also available publicly in our documentation. So you can take a look at our documentation, be able to identify the rules with their corresponding anomaly scores and paranoia levels. So lastly, in this section, we'll just take a closer look at the latest bot manager Ruleset, which is the version 1.1. So like we saw in the overview of the managed Rulesets, the bot manager Ruleset, this is powered by the Microsoft Threat Intelligence feed, which is continuously updated. And this will ensure that the WAF has the most current information on non-malicious IPs, IP addresses, and bot signatures, and will allow it to quickly respond to emerging threats. This Ruleset is organized into 3 main groups for malicious bot protection. We have the bad bots rule group, and this rule group will prevent malicious bots that exhibit malicious behavior. So it's designed to detect and block these bots before it can impact your application. We also have the good bot group, and the good bots, this include legitimate bots such as search engine crawlers, such as Bing, Google bots, and others. And the good bots rule set will identify these bots and allow them through, ensuring you can access your site without disruption. We also have the unknown bots rule group, and these are bots. Unknown bots are bots that don't clearly fall into either category. So this may be general purpose HTTP clients, SDK, software development kits, or automation tools. So the bot rule set for this will flag this for further inspection, and you can also decide how to handle them based on your risk tolerance. So one of the strengths of the bot manager Ruleset is its flexibility. You can actually configure an action to be taken for each rule, either to allow log or block, and also have support for JS challenge, JavaScript challenge, and capture as actions within the bot Ruleset. These two are currently in public preview, and these two can enable you to distinguish between legitimate users as well as malicious bots. So of course, this flexibility will give you the ability to tailor your bot mitigation strategy to your specific application needs. So having taken a look at an overview of the managed rules and also seeing some of the key concepts, the next section we'll take a look at is some of the best practices. So in this section, we'll explore how rule sets, which strategies you can use, some recommendations, and some practical strategies for configuring, tuning, and maintaining your WAF deployment. So to start us off, I will take at some general best practices and recommendations. And to start us off is first of all to always enable the web application firewall. So if you're using the front door, if you're using front door application gateway for internet-facing applications, we always recommend you enable the WAF and configure it to use the managed rules. So when you use the WAF and the managed rules, your application is protected from the range of attacks, which we saw at the beginning of the webinar. Secondly, once you've enabled your WAF, is to use the WAF policies. So the WAF policies, these allow you to use the managed rules and also to configure the custom rules. So for example, if you're using the older, what we call the WAF config, the WAF config is limited to a specific application gateway or front door. You're not able to reuse it, or you're not able to also configure some more advanced features that have come within the WAF policy. So if you have that older WAF configuration, you should migrate to the WAF policies to take advantage of the latest features. Another recommendation of best practice is also to tune your WAF, and we'll also take a look at this in more detail in another coming session, another slide. So when you tune your WAF, you're basically trying to reduce false positives. And if you don't tune your WAF, it might accidentally block requests that should be allowed. So tuning, this involves creating rule exclusions. It also involves, you can tune using custom rules, as well as changing the actions of some of the rules, all geared to ensuring that you have a smooth user and application experience. I also recommend to use prevention mode. So after you've tuned your WAF, you should configure it to run in prevention mode. So initially during tuning, it will be in detection. And during detection, we don't actively block the requests. We're just able to log them and keep track of those logs. So when you run in prevention mode, you're ensuring that the WAF actually blocks requests that it detects that are detected as malicious. And we know that when you're running in detection mode, this is useful for testing purposes while you tune and configure your WAF, but it doesn't provide protection. And then finally, we also recommend to define your WAF configuration as code. So with this, we know that when it comes to managing, especially where you have at scale, you've deployed you've deployed several WAF policies, you have a large scale environment. Trying to manage these resources can be time consuming using and error prone. So instead, you can define your WAF configurations as code, and this is more so where you're using exclusions, and you can use the Azure CLI, PowerShell, Bicep, or Terraform. So anytime you need to make updates, for example, even upgrading your WAF rule set, you can easily be able to do this. Another recommendation, and this is more so on the rate limiting side, is to add a rate limiting. And this you can do at both the front door as well as the application gateway. Like we saw with rate limiting, you're defining a duration within which your application can be accessed. So with rate limiting, you're able also to control and be able to stop layer 7 DDoS attacks. I also recommend to use a high threshold for rate limits. So usually it's a good practice to set your rate limit threshold to be high So for example, if you know that a single client IP address might send around 10 requests to your server each minute, consider specifying maybe a higher threshold of 20 requests per minute. And this, of course, high rate limit thresholds, they help to avoid blocking legitimate traffic. So this threshold, they still provide protection against very high number of requests that might come in to overwhelm your infrastructure. Moving on, and these are best practices recommendations, and more so now for the rule sets, is to use, of course, the managed rule sets. And this comes about once you've enabled and are using your WAF policy. So we've seen the rule sets. These are designed to protect your application by detecting and blocking common vulnerabilities and web application attacks. So once you've enabled your rule sets, you can also enable your bot manager rule set. And within this rule set, you're able to detect and prevent against malicious bot attacks. Within the rule sets, you can also have the bot manager rule set. You can also have the JavaScript challenge and capture, which come in to further add protection against malicious bots and ensure a smoother experience for legitimate user. We also recommend to use the latest rule set versions. Our rule set versions are updated, and with each update, we have increased security coverage and less false positives. You can also enable geofiltering. And we know with geofiltering, you can be able to restrict access to your applications. You can be able to filter based on geographic location. And with this, for example, you can be able to filter traffic that's coming outside from countries or regions you don't expect to receive any traffic from. Within also geofiltering, we also recommend to specify to use the unknown or the ZZ location. So some IP addresses aren't mapped to locations within our WAF dataset. So when an IP address can't be mapped to a location, the WAF assigns the traffic to the unknown country or region. So to avoid blocking valid requests from these IP addresses, consider including the unknown country or region through your geo filter. When it comes to logging, it's always recommended to add diagnostic settings, or you'll save your WAF logs. So WAF integrates with Azure Monitor, where you can send your logs, and within these logs, you can be able to review them. We recommend to review them regularly, and reviewing these logs helps you to tune your WAF policies to reduce false positives, understand whether your application has been the subject of attacks. Finally, you are also able to send logs to a SIEM, such as Sentinel, where you can be able to do further analysis as well as integrate with automation. So moving on, this is just an overview of WAF tuning, just to showcase to you how it looks like. With WAF tuning, it's always a balance between security and also usability. So it's always good to consider that the more you tune your WAF, the more, for example, you create exclusions, the more likelihood, for example, you have less data enrichment. So here we're just showcasing an overview of some of the steps that you take when tuning your WAF. You can see here on the left that when you enable out-of-the-box rule sets, these rule sets are usually strict and they can lead to those false positives, and more so also when you run it in prevention mode. So when it comes to tuning your WAF, we always recommend to run it in detection mode for a couple of weeks, analyze the log, analyze the WAF log matches before now you start tuning, for example, creating per URI policies, creating per site policies. And just to note, like I mentioned, the more you tune, the more less likelihood of false positives, but the greater the chance also of security risks. Finally, to finish us off on the presentation, is just to mention updating your WAF rule sets. Like we've kept emphasizing, it's always important to use the latest WAF Ruleset to ensure that you are covered in terms of security threats. So as a recommendation for upgrading the WAF Ruleset, we recommend document your current WAF configuration. You can document as well as save this offline. So you have a backup. You can prepare a new template, and we'll see some of this in our demo. Test in a non-production environment. So testing is always important to ensure that before you apply any change, that it is going to work. Reassign exclusions and customizations, and this you can do within the template. And finally, run your tests to ensure that your new upgraded rule set is working as expected. We have a good blog, a great blog that covers this more in detail that you can take a look at and see the specific steps that you can take for upgrading your rule sets, specifically more so if you have customizations in your exclusions or you've changed your log actions. So with that, I'm going to stop there and give it or hand it over to my colleague Gustavo for the demo section.
Hey, Andrew. Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Gustavo Modena, and I'll be running the demo with you. So let me start by sharing my screen. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, looks good.
Thanks. All right, so let's start here by taking a closer look to the WAF policy in the Azure portal. Andrew has covered a lot of good information here, but yeah, we're gonna demonstrate some of the key things here. So first of all, when we start, with WAF, a lot of customers, just putting WAF in front of their web applications, they are not sure exactly how WAF will behave and what exactly will be blocked. So the recommendation is start with the detection mode before moving to the prevention mode, right? So here in the overview page of the WAF policy, we have this button up here, so we can switch it between detection and prevention. The advantage of using the detection mode is that, while it's in detection mode, you can, no requests are going to be blocked. So, but you as an admin, we'll have all the logs, so you can see what's going through the WAF and identify what are requests being blocked. So if there is anything that it's legitimate user request being blocked, you can take actions and then start tuning up your policy to make sure that those requests will not be blocked, right? So this is the first thing that we have for both application gateway and front door WAF. The next thing that I want to highlight here is the policy settings. So in policy settings, we're going to have a few configurations available. And I think the most important here that I want to mention is the enforce request body inspection, because if this one is not enabled, the WAF will only inspect what's in the header of the HTTP request, but not what's in the body, right? So this is very important because there are a lot of cases where attackers are sending something malicious through the body, and it may affect the applications running as well. Some other things that we have here is the enforced maximum body request limit, so you can define the size of how much the WAF will inspect depending on the size of the file and also of the body. And here we also have the JavaScript challenge. The JavaScript challenge is something that's currently in preview. And here is a global configuration where you will define the expiration of the JavaScript token, right? Just one real quick, there are a few differences if you go to the front door policy settings. Because here we're gonna see the block response body, and then we can put a customized message. So when the request is blocked, you can define a message that will be shown to the users. And one other difference here is the CAPTCHA expiration. So this is the token for the CAPTCHA CAPTCHA is something that's being recently released for AFD WAF as well. And this is the expiration of the token that you define. All right, moving forward to the managed rule sets. In the managed rule sets, we have both bot manager and the default rule set. So here is where we're gonna make most of the configurations related to the rules when we are fine-tuning WAF, right? So here we have the version that's being assigned to our WAF, both for DRS and then for bot rule manager. We can see the older versions available for both of them. We are running the most updated version for both of them. And then here we can also add some exclusions and then enable, disable rules, change actions, and all of that, right? So let's say, for example, when I'm fine tuning, I want to change the action of a rule from block to anomaly score, allow, log, or just run a JavaScript challenge. I can just come here and make these changes. So this is also part of the fine tuning process, and it helps you protecting your application without affecting legitimate requests. You can also enable and disable specific rules, and you can also create the exclusions, right? When you are creating the exclusions, you have the option to create exclusions that are applied to a global configuration, to the bot rule manager, or to the default rule set. And before we do the configuration here, let me just showcase one scenario where we're going to have a SQL injection being blocked. So if I go to my web, to my application, I go to the login page. Let me just get it here. So I'll run a SQL string as part of my email and then put the password here, and I will log in, right? Right now, the WAF is just blocking this request, so I can see a 403 forbidden response coming back from the WAF. And then let's say, for example, this one would be like something legitimate, right? So I don't want to have WAF blocking this request. So in the exclusion, what I would do is, hey, first thing, let's say I need to troubleshoot that and find what exactly is matching in the logs. So if I run this custom query, checking the application gateway firewall logs. This one is for application gateway. If you're running for AFD, the log is the category is different, but in this case, just running the application gateway for demonstration. So if I run the logs here and I see what's being blocked, I can find more information under details data _s. So for example, here I can see that this argument email is what's triggering the SQL injection rule, right? So what I can do here is I'll go to the exclusion and I'll add a new one here. I'll select SQL injection. I can be very specific and only select the rules that I want, or you can just go and select all the rules that you want to exclude when you're creating this. I'll just create this exclusion for the entire SQL injection group. And what I need to do down here, I need to use the match variable, right? So as I see in my logs, I see what's matching is the request header, the argument's name. So I'll put here equals email, and then I'll save it. Once this exclusion is saved, I should try that, doing the same thing, and it should go through without any blocks. So while this one is saving, let me go here on the logs. So just one more thing, right? Here you can see, I don't know if I showed you this, but in the logs, if you scroll to the right side, you can see all the rule IDs, right? So if you don't want to create the exclusion to the entire group like I just did, because it creates, a more insecure environment, you could just select the rule IDs that you want to create the exclusion for. And then when you are creating the exclusion, just select the ones that are showing up here. So the WAF policy is updated. So if I go back to my application, and then let me just refresh this, and then I run again, I'll just go through, I'm logged in as an administrator, right? So this is just one quick example of how to create the exclusions. You can also create these exclusions for the, the DRS. And one question that I saw in the chat here was about changing the actions for good bots, right? So let's say, for example, you have this rule for a good bot, and you don't want to allow this. So what you can do is just come here and change the action of these specific rules from allow to block or to log if you want to get more information of these requests, right? So that's another great way to make these changes when you are fine tuning. The other thing that we have here is custom rules. So within custom rules, we can do many of the different kinds of rules. Beginning with the rate limiting is one option. So let me just go here and show you what are the options that we have. So we can create a custom rule by using rule type or match or rate limit. When we are using rate limit, you need to know what is the expected amount of requests sent by a client to your application within a specific amount of time to not block requests by having a misconfiguration here in your WAF, right? So there are other custom rules that we have here, like for example, geofiltering, as Andrew mentioned. We can define multiple countries here. So that's going to block requests coming from these countries. Then, when you are creating a custom rule, you have the options to define if these custom rules are going to allow traffic, deny traffic, log only, or run JavaScript. If you are doing this for front or WAF, you're going to have another option, which is running a CAPTCHA as well. And let's do another thing here. So like, for example, these are block Firefox user agent, right? So you can define that specific user agents are not going to be allowed as well. And in this case, I just have this custom rule denying traffic from, anything coming from Firefox, for example. So if I open my application and I go to my Firefox and I try to connect to it, I'm just gonna get this photo 3 forbidden. If I try to do the same in the WAF, for example, in the front door WAF, for example, there is an option in WAF, front door WAF, that you can redirect the request to another URL. So in this case here, I'm just redirecting to Microsoft.com. So that's another thing that you can do if you want to inform the user that if you're using AFD WAF and you want to inform the user that their request is being denied and you want to redirect them to some to another URL, you can do it. Going back to here. Okay, so going to the front door, one thing that I want to show you is that when we are managing rules, we have the option to run to change the specific actions of the rules to JavaScript or CAPTCHA. So like these two, I have these two rules, 100, 100, and 100, 200 set to JS challenge. So that means that when a request triggers these rules, the WAF will send a JS challenge to back to the client. Since the JS challenge in this case should only be solved by browsers, not by bots, what's going to happen is that the bot won't be able to solve the challenge and the connection will fail, right? So I have an example here. So if I run, this request using a Google bot, for example, so I'm running a put using a user agent Google bot to my front door, and I send this request through, I'll see the request is just being forbidden here, right? So if I change it, what's happening here is that, the request went to WAF checked the, inspected the request, it matched with the 100 or 100, 200 rule, and then it says, okay, let me send you a JS challenge, and if you are not able to solve these, your connection will be denied. So that's what's happening here in this case. I think that to be able to have the logs available there, it's important to mention that the logging is not enabled by default. So it is important to make sure that you are enabling the diagnose settings, for both application gateway and front door, and make sure that you are sending this data. In the case of WAF, you need to select the application firewall log for application gateway. For front door, it has a different category, but it, also specific for WAF. And then you need to make sure that you are sending this to the log analytics. One thing to mention here is that for application gateway, we support two different destination tables. One is Azure Diagnostic, and the other one is resource-specific logs. If you're using resource-specific logs, the query will change a little bit, but you're going to be able to get the same data for fine-tuning and all of that. Let me see. Oh, and the other thing that I want to mention is that upgrading the rules, right? So let's say you have a WAF policy, and then in this case here, I have a WAF policy running CRS 3.2, and I want to make an update. So as Andrew mentioned, we can make the changes in two ways. We can make the change just by assigning a new version of the rule set here, or we can use the template. If you have custom actions on your rules and exclusions, the recommended is to create an ARM template or a bicep template and make this change by using the templates. And I'll show you why. So I'm going to change the DRS here from 2.1 to 3.2 to 2.1, and also the bot manager. Before I change it, let me show you that I have these custom I have these rules that are customized, so they are not anomaly scored, they are set to log. And I also have these exclusions set up here. So for these specific rule IDs on SQL injection. So what I'm gonna do here, I would just change it to the latest version on both bot manager and DRS, and I'll update it. This should be a quick update here, but what I want to show is that once this action is completed, I won't be able to find the exclusions and the customizations, the action customizations in my policy. So let me just refresh it here real quick. And if I go to exclusion, so let me see. Okay, the version has changed for both bot manager and DRS. And if I go to the exclusions, I won't see anything. And the same thing will happen to the rule. So if I select here 2000, we can see that, the two rules that I had set to log, they're back to anomaly score. And this happens because we just made this update. And if we take a look at the template here, we're going to scroll down. We'll see that the overrides are gone. They are not showing up here because we changed the engine or the DRS version from 3.2 to 2.1. But then if we scroll down there, we are able to see the exclusions, but the exclusions are set to the OWASP rule set type, right? So I have a side-by-side template here where we can see exactly what are the differences of the 3.2 and the 2.1. So the overall configuration is pretty much the same, but if we scroll down here, we're gonna see these are so the left side is the 3.2, the right side is the 2.1. So we can see the changes here, right? Then the last thing that I want to show you here is that if I just do the same thing by updating, by running the template, I will WAF 2.1, open, save it. Just make sure that you are applying this template to the same resource in the same resource group. If not, it will, if you don't have the resource, it will create a new resource. If the resource exists in a different resource group, it will update the wrong resource. So we just updated, we just ran the template here. If we go back to the policy here, then we're gonna see it's running the 2.1. Then I now can see all the exclusions again. And I also can see that the custom change actions are set to log again. So whenever you're making updates on the DDR's version, make sure if you have these customizations and exclusions, make sure that you create a template to not lose these configurations, especially if you have a lot of these customizations, because that would, make you, if you're not using templates, you need to create this manually, and it may take a lot of time. So that's what I had for the demo today. Yeah, that's all. Thanks, everyone.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Gustavo. And thank you to Andrew and Gustavo both for being our guests today and for sharing this great information with our community. Also, thank you to the Q&A team who helped us with answering the questions and providing all of the resourceful information. To all the listeners still on the line, if you're someone who wishes to aid in the protection of the world from cyber threats and desire to have a say in shaping our strategies, blueprints, and recommendations, then we invite you to become part of our security community. Together, we can make a global impact. So join us at aka.ms/securitycommunity. This is also where you'll be notified about the upcoming webinars, events, and other announcements. For those of you who may have additional questions on the topic we just covered, or other product-related questions, please feel free to raise them on our Microsoft Tech community discussion space at aka.ms/ans community. Thank you all for being part of our community and for joining us on these webinars. We hope to see you next time. Goodbye.